This episode of Brains on Games is a preview of a card game that's about pulling off the perfect heist. Welcome to Brains on Games. I'm Dr. Brian McDonald, and this episode we are going to talk about a card game with a heist theme. This is a sort of a preview, sort of a review of the game. It just delivered on Kickstarter, so the campaign is finished and backers have received their packages, which means that you might be able to find some in retail or floating around on eBay or online somewhere, so it's a little easier to get than some of the other previews maybe that I've done. This is a game called Caper, and because it's the Kickstarter, this is the Mastermind Edition, the deluxe edition you might say, of Caper Europe. Caper Europe is a two-player game. You can play it with kids aged 10 and up, and a game plays in only about 25 to 35 minutes. Let's take a deeper look at Caper. Caper is not a super complicated game, so if you were going to rate its complexity, I would say it's somewhere in the lower end to middle end of the complexity scale, so probably a light medium in complexity game. And it's a two-player game, like I said, so you might hear some comparisons to Radlands, which is the last two-player card game that I played. The Mastermind Edition comes in a box with a sleeve on the outside, and in fact, the box had tape exactly like this. The package that came to my house was taped with tape that's exactly like this with the colors and the eagle on it. But once you open up the sleeve, you'll see the actual box to the game, which looks like this. So you've got the map with all of the strings and pictures of some of the thieves. Inside the box, well, maybe before I open it, I'll show you. It is a box that you can close after you've played the game. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that once I open things up a bit. You can definitely close this one, though. Inside, of course, you've got the rule book first. Underneath that, there are some player aid cards. It's a two-player game, so you only need two of them. There's sort of a plastic insert here in the top that fits a lot of the components. This is the game board, but you can see here probably on the camera that I also managed to get my hands on a giant neoprene mat. So I'll be demonstrating the game on this mat, but there is a board that comes with the game inside the box as well. You've got some score sheets, a score pad here, but there is no pencil that comes with the game. Then you've got your wooden tokens. Underneath that plastic insert, you can see that we've got some metal coins, some wooden tokens that represent stolen goods that you'll be able to grab from locations on the board. And then you've got 5 decks of cards. This deck over here is the core deck, and the core deck will be included in every single game. These other cards are sets for particular cities, and the cities play in different ways. The easiest one to play is Paris, and this deck will have some thieves that are specific to that setting, some gear, and some locations that are specific to the Paris theme. There is a Rome, a Barcelona deck, and the most complex one is the London deck. And like I said, each of these has thieves, gear, and locations that will be shuffled into the main deck in order to play the game. This is a gorgeous insert. Of course, it's even got the plastic even has a coating on it in here, but it's a game with cards that can't be sleeved if you're going to continue to use this insert. I don't think that sleeve cards would fit very well in the box, and certainly if you did sleeve these cards, being able to close the box and fit it inside that sleeve again that I showed you would be pretty challenging. So I'm not a person who likes to play with sleeved cards. Some people I know do like that. These cards are not the same kind of sturdy plastic type material that the Radlands cards were. They are a little bit thinner, although they do have a nice finish on them. Here you can see a bit of the setup for a game of Caper Europe. You've got a stack of gear cards, a stack of thief cards. There's a little thief token here that keeps track of the round that you're on in the game. And here's one of the locations. I won't show you the whole board. There's 3 separate locations in the game where you can play cards. We'll focus just on the one so that you can see how this game plays a little bit. And I've put all these metal coins over here. They have the logo on one side that's stamped on the box, and on the other side it says "One Scoundrel" on it. These are nice little coins, I will tell you that. The round counter in this game is great. It very clearly tells you what you're going to do. In the first round, you may be able to see it has 4 pips in this little square and there's an arrow pointing towards me. That means I'll go first in the round and each player is going to have 4 thief cards dealt out to them. So it's alternating by color. There's the green and the cream color, and the next round will be a gear round and then a thief round and a gear round. So I'm going to take 4 of these thief cards. And I have to tell you, the artwork on these things is just fantastic. I wanted to keep playing just so that more of these thieves would come out. We didn't get to see all of them because there are 4 different cities and because you have a diminishing number of thief cards that come out every round. So in the first round, each player is going to have 4. The next round, there's only 3. And then in the final thief round, there are 2. Each gear round, though, you do get 6 cards. So you're going to have a total over the course of the game of 7, 9 different thieves that will come into your hand, but you won't even get to play them all to the board. There are symbols here at the top of the thief cards, and those are going to represent what kinds of abilities the thief has and what points you might be able to get or bonuses you might get by playing the thief. Now, this one, the chef, is going to give you a caper bonus. It's going to pull this caper counter towards you if you play blue cards into that location where this fellow is. Here, the madam is going to give you a victory point at the end of the game for each blue card that gets played in her location, and you can't destroy blue cards. That's what the little flame here with the line through it means. Those cards can't be destroyed. The artist will give you a point for each stolen good that you have in your hideout at the end of the game, and the smuggler will give you a stolen good from the middle of the table and also move this caper counter towards you. The way you win a game of Caper Europe is by collecting sets that are going to earn you victory points, and also by controlling one or more of the 3 locations that are on the board. Like I said, I've only got 1 location here, but you can see this is Versailles, and you'll get 3 victory points if you win this one. Plus, you'll get 2 points for each gem or diamond that you have in your hideout at the end of the game. Here are the stolen goods that you might be able to grab. For example, if you play the smuggler that had that little hexagon with the question mark in it, if I play him to this location, I get to choose one of those stolen goods and put it over here in my hideout. If I control this location at the end of the game, that's going to earn me 2 points. That smuggler also has the little caper icon here. And so here, I'll put it like this so that you can see him. He's got the caper icon, and that means this token moves 1 space towards me. That's how you win a location in the game, is if you finish the game with this counter closer to you rather than closer to the opponent. If it's in the middle at the end of the game, no one wins the location. But if it's here, I would win the location. I would get those 3 victory points from Versailles, plus 2 points for this diamond that I've picked up in my hideout from playing the smuggler there. The other thing that you might notice about some of these thief cards, and really I think only one of the ones that I picked up at the beginning, some of them have a little circle with a number in it. Maybe you can see it here. The chef has a circle with the number 1. That means I get to grab 1 coin from the supply. The coins are important during the gear phase of the game, because some of the gear that you might want to place onto your thieves in order for them to be successful in their caper requires you to pay a coin or 2 or 3 coins even in order to play that card. In each round, the players are going to alternate playing cards. In the round that we're talking about, I've got thieves in my hand, so in the thief round, you're playing a thief. In the gear round, you're adding gear to those thieves. So I'll play 1, my opponent will play 1. I get to go first this round. Remember, the arrow was pointing my way. I'll play 1, the opponent will play 1. Then we trade hands and we do the same thing until there's 1 card left. The final card gets discarded face up on my side of the table. So this thief is going to stay at my hideout. He's not going to get played to the board. However, I probably would want to play this thief because he's the only one that's going to give me any coins in my hand, unless my opponent hands me some that also would earn me some coins. And those are 2 of the mechanisms that we're talking about when you're playing a game of Caper Europe. One is location control or area control. I am trying to pull this token closer to me on the board so that I'll win the location and get all of those victory points. If I do really well and finish the game with the counter all the way on my end, there's 2 extra victory points in it for me. You may be able to see that marked on the board here. The other mechanism is card drafting. This is not my hand of cards. Right now it is, but as soon as I play one, if I play the chef here, I'll get my coin, and I'm going to get, for each gear card that has this blue color at the top, the capered counter is going to move closer to me, but now the hand goes to my opponent, and I get their 3 cards that are remaining. If my opponent played the mime card, this is a really good one actually. It's going to pull the counter 1 step closer to my opponent, but they're also going to get 1 victory point at the end of the game for each thief that they have at that location. The cream colored cards here are the thief cards. There are no cream colored gear cards, so this is counting thieves. You can have a maximum of 3 thieves at a particular location. At the end of a round, the first round, the location might look like this. If we both decided to play all 3 of our thief cards into the same location, which I did in this case only because this is the one location that you can probably see on the camera. You've got some sets that are starting to form, some combos of cards that are starting to form here. On this side, the blue gear cards are going to drag that caper counter 1 step closer to me, but at the end of the game, those same cards are also going to earn me a victory point because the madam is in this space. In addition, if the other player gets the flamethrower, which is the gear that allows you to destroy your opponent's gear, they can't destroy any gear that's blue, so that's going to stick around. I'm not going to lose it because I've got the madam out here on this side. My opponent managed to get lots of coins, 1 stolen good, and each time they play green gear onto this location, they're going to move the caper counter 1 step closer to them. So it's going to be a real back and forth at this location. Once you've played your cards and you've discarded the final one, I've discarded 1 card each here in each spot for each player. We move the counter down here. My opponent's going to get to go first. We each get 6 gear cards. Let me show you what these look like. Like the thieves, the gear cards have some symbols here at the top, and in the case of this incognito tuxedo, it's going to cost $1 for me to play this. So if I've got my 1 coin, I might want to spend it on this piece of gear. But I've got lots to choose from. Just like in the thief round, I'm going to play 1 piece of gear, then my hand goes to the other player, and vice versa. One of these cards, this yellow one, is a magnet that allows me to grab some coins from the supply, which might be really important since I only got 1 and my opponent here has 4. There are some top secret plans that are going to give me a victory point for each blue card that gets played. Let's play a little bit of the gear round just so that you can see what that looks like. Right away, I'm seeing this card that's going to give me that victory point for blue cards. I'm going to play it onto my chef. I'll put it underneath like this so that you can see. That's going to cost me my 1 coin, which goes over into the supply, which I put down there. But when I play this card, I'm going to get a victory point at the end of the game for each blue card that's at this location. In fact, I'm going to get 2 victory points at the end of the game because the madam is at this location too. By playing this card, I activate the chef's ability. I pull the caper counter 1 step towards me. My opponent has a lot of money here, and that's going to give him a lot of options. And when you look at the cards that came up in his deal, he could play these sunglasses that will get him 3 coins. That also will prevent me from getting my hands on this blue card that would give me some money and also some victory points. He's got the eavesdropper that will give him 1 coin and 1 victory point at the end of the game. Usually the ones with the yellow at the top will give you some extra money if you play them. They might want to play this one, but it's expensive because this is one that lines up very well with this conductor. It's got the green color at the top, plus you're going to get a victory point at the end of the game for each green card at that location. You're also going to have the conductor who allows you to pull the caper counter his way for each green card that's played there. Lots of options for that second player and lots to think about because he may want to keep me from getting this card. He might want to play the green card onto his side because that's going to give him some advantage. The other thing that either player can do if they don't want to play a card, you can discard one of these cards into your hideout and that will give you 1 coin from the supply. So if you're short on money and you don't have any options, you still have a choice. You can discard a card and maybe you want to discard one that your opponent would like to have. The other limitation that you've got here is that it doesn't matter which thief you put your gear on, they all share them. So even though this blue card is way over here, it's still going to earn me the points that the madam would give me. So the gear is shared, but you can only put 3 pieces of gear on each thief. So that does require you to plan ahead a little bit in terms of what do you want to do. Maybe what my opponent will do is grab these shades so that I don't get those 3 coins for it. We'll put those 3 coins over into their supply and then we trade hands and the play continues. You discard the final card into your hideout. As we start to fill up these locations with gear, you can see the third mechanism in the game. So we've talked about that area control, the card drafting that goes by passing your hands back and forth. The third mechanism here that comes into play is set collection. You're earning points depending on which cards you're putting at what particular location. So in addition to wanting to control this area, you might want to put more green cards here in order to earn those bonuses, or more blue cards here in order to multiply the victory points that you're going to get at the end of the game. The final mechanism to mention is one that doesn't come up very much, but there is a little bit of take that. Like I said, you've got this little flamethrower thing that's in the deck of gear, and if you play this onto one of your thieves, it allows you to destroy one of your opponent's pieces of gear that they've placed there, and it reverses the benefits that they receive from getting that. So if I played this on my side, I could destroy these secret sunglasses, these shades, and my opponent would lose the 3 coins that he earned for playing that card. What skills are you exercising by playing a game of Caper Europe? Well, first of all, you are budgeting your actions and you're literally budgeting your money as well. So whenever you're budgeting and you're planning ahead in order to earn those points, we are talking about the executive functioning skills. The skills that you need in order to work towards a future goal, in order to tackle that goal in an organized way. The executive functions are a super important set of skills that we've talked about for just about every strategy game that I can think of on Brains on Games. There's also some mental math that you're doing here. Well, you are calculating how much money you have and how much money you're going to need in order to buy the gear that you want. You're also calculating those victory points. Now I've got a multiple here. I'm going to get 2 victory points for each blue card that's played into this location, including this one. So that's potentially going to earn me a bunch of points if I'm able to get my hands on more blue gear. Of course, my opponent might be trying to stop me from earning those points, and maybe they'll discard the blue gear or try and keep me from getting it. If they do discard that blue gear, then that's stopping them from playing a card onto their side. So it is a real balance between messing with your opponent's plans and making sure that you're going to earn some points as well. The final thing that I'll mention in terms of skills is that there is a visual memory element to this game as well, because you're handing that deck of cards over. And if you're going to be able to plan ahead, to plan your moves in order to reach that goal of winning a location or getting the most victory points at that location, if you're going to plan ahead, you need to remember what cards have been passed. What cards does my opponent have right now in their hand that I just gave them, so that with the cards that they've given me, I can combine that deck together in order to optimize my turns. Final thoughts about Caper Europe. Well, first of all, these capers, these heist games, it's a theme that I absolutely adore. I always played a thief whenever I played Dungeons and Dragons, so I really do like that idea of, and you know, Ocean's 11 was a movie that I really enjoyed as well. So it's got a theme that really is appealing. It's a game that shares a lot of mechanisms with, say, Ticket to Ride, which is a game about building train routes that has set collection elements, and take that in terms of blocking off routes. So there's some area control there as well. It shares some elements. I prefer this one, A, because of the theme, and B, because of the artwork. You've got this beautiful art in sort of a 60s style, and some of the characters are just a lot of fun. This is one that jumped out at me like the third time I think that we played the game. This guy popped up, and he just reminds me of Jean Reno in The Professional, and he's a cleaner in this game. He's got a little bottle of Windex in his hand. So there's nothing, the chef has a knife, but there's nothing too excessively gory or violent about the game, and it is okay for kids aged 10 and up. So here is a game with a fun theme, with fantastic art that really is evocative of a time period when these kinds of movies were popular. The Italian Job probably fits in with this time period as well. So the components are fantastic too. You've got these these aren't super heavy coins, but they are these thick metal coins, and the artwork on them is fun. The chunky wooden pieces are great as well. You've got that great insert too that keeps everything organized. It was super easy for me to put everything away. You've just got to stack your thieves and your gear in 2 different piles and then separate out the ones that are specific to the city that you're playing in. It's also quick to play, 25 to 35 minutes for a game, so you can easily knock out 2 games of this or 3 games compared to some other strategy games that you might be able to play, and there's a desire to play more. There's the replayability as well of 4 different cities with locations that affect the rules or affect the game in different ways. For example, when we played in Rome, a lot of the location cards give a player bonus points for certain color of gear on their opponent's side, and there are a lot of cards that pull the caper token back and forth, so there are big swings in terms of who controls the locations on the map. The concern that I have is the sleeving one. The cards have that great artwork and they have a nice finish on them, but they're not the plasticky synth kinds of cards like you saw in Radlands a couple of episodes ago. These are, cardboard playing cards. So you might, if you are a person who sleeves cards, these are the kinds of cards. I don't think you need to sleeve the Radlands cards. We talked about that in that episode. But these cards would be cards that you would want to sleeve, and that makes the beautiful insert that came in that box less useful to you. You'd have to pull that out in order to fit all the components if you sleeved all the cards. And that, in a nutshell, is Caper Europe, a fun, quick heist game for 2 players that emphasizes those executive functioning skills, memory, and a little bit of mental math thrown in there just for good luck. If you have any comments about this video, about this game, questions about Caper Europe, you can leave them in the comment section below the video, or you can email me at brian@brainsongames.ca. brainsongames.ca is the website. That's where future episodes will go. The previous ones are up there already. Brains on Games is the Twitter handle and the Facebook page and the Instagram feed, so we're all over the place. And if you enjoyed this video and you want to be notified of future ones, you can head on over to YouTube and click that subscribe button. Thanks for joining me, and hopefully I'll see you next time.